Okay, I think
we're good.
Yeah, right? Okay. In case you have joined early, Kelli-Ann and I are just going to hang out until 11:30 when we go ahead and get started. We just wanted to make sure we were recording for all the folks that are going to watch this later. So thank you for your patience. Great. Looks like we're coming through for our viewers. Just give everyone a few more minutes here.
So looking out my window, I keep seeing like tracks from all the critters in the snow, which is wild. And for the first time ever today, this morning, I saw a coyote run past my front window, which is crazy. I've seen, it's kind of scrawny, actually. And it's just like one. I know our neighborhood HOA Facebook group keeps tabs on them and posts like, hey, they've been sighted here and here. There's like 2 of them that live in our neighborhood. It's kind of wild, but I have never before seen them in person in my yard.
Oh my gosh, we have a little red fox that lived in somewhere around our house, but had been spotted in our front yard before we moved in for years. And now I've seen him or her, like, I don't know, maybe 3 times. And I actually went out my front door and videoed last time, and it was not afraid of me at all. I'll send you the video. We had, like, I'm like, hello. Magical. I know. He's like, I was here before you, so.
I would much rather have the fox than the coyote.
Yeah, no, me too.
But yeah, that was the first time I've seen it like straight up in my yard and running past the window at 9 a.m.
Oh
Unreal.
My gosh.
Yeah.
We have a lot of coyotes over here too. I haven't seen one, but our friends who live a few blocks away, they have a Great Dane, like a huge dog.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And they have coyotes that are in their yard regularly. They must live like on or near their property. And I'm like, well, what does Vesper say about that? Like, you think she would scare them off, but I don't think they've met each other yet.
Maybe that's for the best.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Alrighty, well, it's 11:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have 30 minutes together to review our webinar today, which is HRIS 101. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Celia Balson. I'm Work Friendly's co-founder and CEO. I started Work Friendly about 10 years ago now, which is absolutely crazy. And I'm so excited to be here today with Kelli-Ann. I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, I'm Kelli-Ann. I am Work Friendly's HRIS consultant, and I have been working in the HR technology space for about 10 years at this point, which feels unreal. But before that, and alongside that journey, I've been an HR generalist, an HR coordinator. I've helped with benefits and compensation and people operations and all kinds of things under the sun, which has all contributed to my experience in creating HR technology solutions that truly work for HR practitioners, because I've been one of you. I know exactly what you would want and what you need. And so that is what I really love bringing to our clients into the HR technology space.
I love that. We are so lucky to have you, Kelli-Ann. For those of you who aren't familiar with Work Friendly, we just have two slides to give you a brief overview. We are based in Chicago. Our team is spread throughout the greater Midwest. And we focus on all things people, so talent acquisition, as well as human resources, HR tech, benefits, payroll, and everything in between. And we work with companies of all shapes and sizes. And we believe in helping them with what is the most important part of any business, which is supporting their people. Our services are vast. We help our clients with everything from attraction all the way through to exit and all of the fun things in between. We also have a focus on HR technology, which we will dive into today. In addition, our team's comprised of executive level consultants, all of which have very impressive as well as very vastly generalized backgrounds within all aspects under that people umbrella, like Kelli-Ann was sharing. We have experience in all aspects of the employee life cycle, holding many seats, and in many cases, serving as that one-woman people team. So we really are able to flex our experience across all of the different buckets that you see here. So today, meat and potatoes. So today's webinar is going to cover all things HRIS, starting with what is an HRIS and reviewing the different types of HR systems, how those systems help streamline people ops, and why selecting and implementing the right system is really straightforward. And honestly, this webinar is super timely. We skipped our Q4 webinar because our team was just so incredibly busy with actually a ton of HRIS implementations. So while we were busy in Q4 getting our clients ready for their 2026 payrolls, first payrolls on these systems, we figured this would be the perfect time to focus on training clients, prospective clients, and HR team members on all things HR tech. So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll kick it over to Kelli-Ann to get us started.
Well, awesome. So let's just be real here. HRIS can be incredibly confusing, even when we're just talking about the terms used in our industry in HR tech. So HRIS is a commonly used term, kind of overarching as a synonym almost for HR technology. So it could be in general conversation, anything from a true HRIS to an ATS, an applicant tracking system, LMS, performance management tool, engagement platforms, anything under that kind of HR technology sun can kind of conversationally be lumped into HRIS as a topic. So of course, that makes it even more complicated when you're talking about the true technology piece of it. And of course, all of those specialized platforms are part of it too. But really straightforward, HRIS is human resources information system is what it stands for. And think of it as the basics of employee data management. It is that specific tool, HRIS, is really what you would need to manage your employee data and demographics and essentially run your payroll. Now, if you take it one step further, HCM, that becomes human capital management. That is an HRIS plus talent management and sometimes an applicant tracking system. And then you can go even further into an HRMS and human resources management system. And that is your full platform all-in-one tool. So HCM plus everything else, like we talked about, an LMS component, a performance component, sometimes even engagement and all of the other things, including onboarding processes, etc. So it can be complicated, and there's a lot of options that could be the right fit for your business. So where does that put us? Why does that really matter at the end of the day, right? So really, my goal as an HR technology professional is to take away or at least ease the daily administrative burden and allow HR professionals and HR teams to do what they love and to be much more strategic in their roles. And quite honestly, that leads to higher HR team engagement, better retention and lower turnover of your HR team, higher quality employee experiences, and more opportunities for employee and manager empowerment. Really, the ripple effect is pretty endless when it comes to implementing the right HR technology solution for your team. Celia, what are the biggest impacts you've seen for a good HRIS fit?
Yeah, automation and key activities for sure. And one activity that comes to mind, open enrollment, getting rid of paper forms, being able to have a system that allows employees to go through open enrollment in a self-service model, to be able, we were talking earlier, to be able to hit that done button and just have everything populate seamlessly in terms of deductions and integrations with carriers and whatnot. So yeah, really just utilizing the system to allow HR to focus on really like key activities and allow HR to operate more lean. And initiatives that really move the needle versus the things that need to get done.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can just push a button and have it be good, that is my dream situation.
Everyone's dream situation. That would be
Right?
perfect.
So at Work Friendly, our goal is really to support the entire ecosystem of HR technology for our clients and ensure that you have the right tools to meet your business needs. So a common analogy that I use is HR technology is like building a custom home or kind of construction projects, right? So if you're doing a brand new implementation, building from the ground up, building your custom designed home, you want to make sure that what you're putting in is truly what you need to get out and what you need to live in. That home really is the technology that houses your data, that is a home for your HR data and all of your processes, right? And it can even go as far as like optimization becomes a remodel, and adding a new system is like adding an addition to your home. You want to make sure all of those pieces flow seamlessly together, and it doesn't feel like you just added a sunroom that is off of the wrong piece of your house and doesn't flow appropriately or match the rest of your home. You want it to feel seamless in terms of experience and data integrations and all of those other pieces. If you're going to spend that money on building an addition, you want to make sure it works, right? So think of Work Friendly as the architects and the general managers helping you build the HR technology suite of your dreams. We're there to design and advocate for you and make sure that those folks that are actually doing the building are doing exactly what you want to achieve your end goal. Okay. So a common process that we recommend is shown here. And now I do want to preface this by saying every implementation or optimization process will be unique and custom to the business needs. But this is a typical process that we would follow here at Work Friendly. So the first is that ecosystem exploration. We'll go through and map out the current state of all of the HR technology tools and data integrations, make sure we truly understand what the landscape is today, and then do the same thing for your ideal future state. And from there, we can use that to go to market and help you find the appropriate technology providers to get closer to your end state. And continue on that path, we'll get into discovery and detailed system design, which is where we go through and really narrow in on that blueprint, go through your business processes, really determine exactly what you want this system to look and feel and function like to best support your end goals. And then comes the heavy lift, right? So the implementation, where we're putting hammer to nail and we're building the thing. And really that is the bulk of the build right there, but it's relatively hands off for most of our SMEs, our subject matter experts. But the big piece comes next, the testing and training. So that one is where you really get to see if that blueprint that you built in the discovery and design phase really truly works for you. You're going through, you're testing all of your business processes, you're making sure that it is exactly what you want. And if it's not, you have the chance to tweak it. And during that whole process, you also collect information and create guides and videos to feed into your change management process, which I cannot stress how critical change management is. The best projects are going to have a big communications plan with that change management really at the focus, because you never want your investment to not be adopted, and that is the critical piece to drive that adoption. And then next up, this is what everybody aims for: go live. And if you think about it, it is day one. You flip the switch, and then some people think, well, that's it, we're done. But really, if you think about it in the long term, your journey, it is day one of your journey. You are starting there. And so we never want to leave our clients in the lurch. We continue on. You'll see governance and post-production support here as the final step in our process. And this is where we go through and we help our clients develop the 5, 10, 2, 3, whatever the length of plan it is that makes the sense for you. So you're continually investing in that project and not letting it go stale. Additionally, governance becomes really important. So when we're talking about, okay, we've set up all of these processes and this data security with all of that compliance in mind, when somebody needs access to new information, how do you go through that? What approvals are required? What do you need to do to turn that on? Is there a specific way that you need to grant that security so that it's temporary or long term? Is it tied to the person's role versus them as an individual? There's all these different questions that you want to think through in that terms of governance. And then even beyond that, if you ever wanted to add a new module, what's the process for that? Who needs to be involved in that decision? Who controls the budget for the technology and investments in the future? So we definitely want to make sure that that framework is set up for our clients to continue to thrive in this implementation or in this technology that we've delivered with you. So from there.
Great point, Kelli-Ann. Just want to add the amount of times that we get brought in post implementation, and it might be months, it could be years after a client has implemented a system and they've just realized, oh, this is not the way we did it then is not the way that doesn't match the way we're operating now. Or, oh, we implemented these key modules like payroll, benefits, what have you, but we realized that we actually have paid for X, Y, and Z, talent or performance. In addition, can you help us implement those? So I'm so with you, just double tapping on day one is just the beginning. It doesn't mean okay, implemented and done.
Correct. So next up, we want to kind of talk through some of the common pitfalls here. Because again, implementations can be complex and frustrating and tough to implement. So we want to make sure that everyone who's on this call and listening in the future has an understanding of what to think about when going into this. Some pitfalls that we see commonly are unclear goals, misalignment between stakeholders or SMEs about what the end goal is, underestimating the effort of what it's going to take to actually get this thing off the ground and subsequently support it, and then bringing over messy data. Honestly, you get in what you put out. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. So you want to make sure that you have that going through, or in your mind going through this implementation and what you're bringing into the home, right? So in the home analogy, you don't want to bring in 4 different whisks and then put 3 of them in the bathroom when you need just one in the kitchen, right? So you want to make sure that that is crisp and clean when you come in. And then wrong system fit. You want to make sure that what you're going forward with truly meets your needs. So it's not too complex or too limited for what you need, which is where we get into that situation of, hey, we're not having the best experience, and we have helped our clients through some of those items. Or integrations issues. You have purchased the system, you want it to downstream your data to benefits providers, payroll providers, other areas, even coordinate with your IT team for onboarding and provisioning for devices, for example. And if those aren't working correctly or smoothly, that can be really painful too. And then the biggest one I would probably say is having a lack of expertise for the technology going through this process. If you don't have anyone that speaks the system or the technology language or knows the system intent well enough to advocate for what you need, sometimes there's that language barrier between the technical experts doing the implementation and the subject matter experts who are really familiar with the business process. So you always want to have that person in place to advocate. Celia, what is your biggest systems that you've seen in the past?
It's funny because as you're going through this, I'm like, oh, I've seen that. I've seen that. That sounds familiar. I guess the biggest one, really honing in on what you said, like putting messy data in, messy data out. We one of the things that we always do with our clients is an HR assessment to really audit all aspects of the employee life cycle, but especially when they're exploring going through a new system implementation or a migration. We've seen that happen where it's impacted employees' pay, where maybe an account number is inputted by the employee inaccurately, and then they're missed on that first payroll as a result. So I would say that's a big one. And then the integration issues, as you were talking through that, Kelli-Ann, I was thinking something that comes up often is 401k and how 401k providers have a lead time that you have to follow with your integration. So while a company may say, okay, we want to implement with a 1-1, but they sign the contract 11-1 or 12-1, their 401k may have a 90-day lead time. So there might be a little bit of a lapse or a little bit of funkiness for those first 30 days getting on that new system. So making sure also that you're engaging with that expert early on, ideally ahead of making a decision on system or on a timeline, is a big learning that I've had.
Yeah. Speaking of lessons learned, we've got a couple of those up next to talk about. And I wanted to bring 6 of my biggest lessons that I've learned through my career going through implementations. And these are the ones that for every single implementation that I talk about, I want to make sure that we have thought through these items. The first one is RFP bias. We're going to market for a new technology with bias in mind. So this can be situations like, oh, I used this system in my past and it worked great. Let's just do it again and sign it. Not shopping around, or, hey, I have this friend that works over here. They're going to give us a sweet deal. Let's just go ahead and sign it, without really understanding what the business needs are, and really making sure that that tool is the right fit. So that is a big one that we always want to try to reduce that bias as much as possible to make sure that decision is going to be the best one for the long term. The next step, I always want to build with intent in terms of an entire ecosystem. Because as we were talking about the different kinds of tools, we saw that an HR MS can do a million different things and have all of these modules, but every single module might not be the right fit for your business. So maybe you want to do these few modules and then you want to get an independent ATS or an independent LMS, or run your engagement surveys through a different platform and make sure that those all work together. But you need to have that system intent and that mindfulness, knowing what that big picture is going to be before you sign all of these different things, to know, okay, great, this piece of information, these pieces of data are going to technically live in 2 different platforms, but this is the use case for each platform. This is why they matter. And knowing that ecosystem and intentionality before you go into purchasing. Next up, lesson number 3 is use your implementation as a change agent. One of the most successful technical implementations I was ever a part of went through every single business process before they even signed up for a new system. They went through every single notification, every approval, and made sure, great, here's what we're doing today, but it's not really working. Here's how we want it to look and feel in the future. And honestly, you're going through change management anyway for all of this big system stuff. Why not use it as, quite honestly, an excuse sometimes to change the processes to be better fit, more efficient, and stronger for your future.
Mhm.
It's a really good change agent. Next up, lesson number 4, start with your end experience. Quite honestly, an HR technology is one of the core areas that you as HR professionals can interact with your employees. And so that is a really great opportunity to display your employee experience and what you want your employees to feel when they're going through an interaction with the company, right? And so you always want to think from that end experience, especially when you're implementing a self-service capable tool, to think, okay, great, employees are going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Here's how much guidance we want them to have along the way. Here's the language we want to use. Here's how the system should look and feel and click, right? And navigate them through. And you start with that end goal and you build backwards to the very beginning and make sure that you're building that business process and selecting your technology to support your employee experience, because technology is one of the biggest places that we have that experience today. Next up, adoption makes or breaks the system. We talked about this when we were talking about change management as a step, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but know that like if your employees aren't adopting your platform, your investment is gone kind of to the wayside. If they're not using it, it's not working. And then next up, technology moves so fast. You never want to get left in the dust. So you want to always make sure that you're continuing to invest in that platform and not end up in the scenario where you're 5-10 years down the line and nothing works anymore because the technology has advanced so far in all of these different cloud platforms that none of your things work anymore. Your integrations are breaking, so on and so forth. You want to make sure to always have a roadmap to keep developing. Like we said before, day one is just the start, and please don't forget it. Celia, do you have an experience where one of these lessons might have made a huge difference?
Yes. What stands out the most to me is lesson 1, RFP bias leads to bad decisions, because I've seen that what feels like a million times over, where a company is saying, oh, well, my investor told me this is the system that I have to pick because they have a relationship there. And oftentimes it ends up being a system that is much larger, a much bigger investment financially, and typically requires a specialist that doesn't exist internally to be able to implement. And that really is where we end up seeing companies come to us, maybe a year after they've implemented and say, this doesn't work for me because they, didn't have the resources to implement it correctly. And then again, they're not utilizing all of the modules that they signed up for. In some cases, they don't even realize, maybe all that they signed up for. So I would say really taking that time and diligence in system selection is a huge, huge lesson.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm personally really proud of that we do with our clients is we built what we call like a blind RFP process, where we do our best to kind of remove a lot of that bias from the decision-making process so that we have all of the different business needs laid out, and we've evaluated several vendors. And if there is one that is required to be evaluated for whatever reason, we do incorporate that as well, just to show, great, here's what we're saying, here's what we're seeing, here's the preference, we acknowledge the preference. And we really line it up to what the business needs are to display what is going to be the best solution at the end of the day, and do our best to reduce that bias and make sure that you're making the best possible decision.
Yes, it should be necessary.
Yeah. So with all of these different platforms and providers, we just wanted to highlight, here are some common HRIS, HCMs, HRMSs. These are your one-stop shops commonly, and we support them all. But, hey, Kelli-Ann, there's all of these specialized technologies that we were talking about too that can be part of your ecosystem. And yes, here at Work Friendly, our goal is to ensure that you have the right ecosystem, regardless of provider or specialized or full platform, to meet your needs and create that right solution for you. So here you'll see a list of some common specialized providers as well, just kind of food for thought into any conversations folks are going into.
Yes, I love that. And so important to highlight. We're technology agnostic here at Work
Indeed.
Friendly. We love working with a variety of different technology providers. Amazing. Okay, we have about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to take a peek at the Q&A. First and foremost, thank you, Kelli-Ann, for leading us through that. And hopefully we'll have time for 1 or 2 questions here before we wrap. Okay, let's look. Okay, let's do this one. Kelli-Ann, what problems should an HRIS solve versus what it won't fix?
Ooh, so this is a good one. So technology should typically be used as like a solve for process efficiencies. So think like manual data loads, approving prompts and things like that. But it can be used for a mechanism for changing processes, like we talked about, and kind of cleaning up those data errors that you might have in your technology, in your tools today. But they're not going to fix those things if they're not already working. So again, like we were thinking or talking about earlier, what you bring into a platform is what you're going to get out of that platform. So you have to be really intentional when you're building to build the tool to do what you need for those problems, right? But it's not really going to fix bad data or bad processes, although you can use it as a change agent to do so.
Yes, I love that. Okay, let's see if we have time for one more. Oh, this is a good one. Are we too small or alternatively too complex for an HRIS?
Good one. I really don't think it's a matter of size. I think it's really a matter of matching the right tool to your business needs. So that could include budget and team capacity too, if you're on the smaller end. And let's be frank, the tools that we showed are a lot of the big names in the industry, but there are, no matter where you look, likely a tool out there to make your life easier, regardless of where you are in your HR journey. And we can definitely help with all of those different evaluations along the way too. It's just really about matching the tools available to your business needs and finding the right fit.
I love that. I know we implemented Gusto at Work Friendly when we were 3 employees. So yeah, there's something for everyone, I feel.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I want to make sure we have a chance to say goodbye. So we'll wrap it at that. Kelli-Ann, again, thank you so much for leading us today in this webinar. It's super informative. And like I said, a very hot topic for 2025. And I know we're off to the races with this in 2026. So grateful that you're here and a part of Work Friendly. And we appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be part.
And for those of you who want to get in touch, we have our emails here. We keep it simple, firstname@workfriendly.com. So feel free to reach out via email or on LinkedIn, and we'll be sharing this webinar via email with everyone who registered and also again on LinkedIn. So have a great rest of your week. If you're in the Midwest, stay warm, and we'll see you next time.